Hey guys, what's up? So, a little while ago, I got a chance to look at this Synido Live Dock A20 thing, and I had some notes, I had some thoughts, and let's just say it just didn't quite work out. But, to be honest, I just want to talk today a little bit about kind of when you see these things, these products, these Amazon style products pop up, and what they promise, and kind of they just show up everywhere. They're all of a sudden everyone's looking at this thing because the company sent it out and said, please look at my stuff. The more I worked with this item, the less I could really come up with that is particularly positive. I will say it is compact. It does have a fair amount of features, including the ability to monitor in real time, the ability to plug your guitar in and have it feed audio into whatever recording software. It does have USB-C capabilities, and that's about where it kind of ends, because as I'm about to show you, the audio quality on this particular unit is so low that I couldn't really recommend it as something that you would use in any kind of real recording situation, even in terms of like a streaming situation where you need to have a decent audio quality. I'm not seeing a benefit in this because, first of all, it doesn't have any XLR capabilities for a microphone. It doesn't have the ability to run phantom power. You can't use really high quality microphones. So if you're doing any kind of live singing, live playing, it's not going to work out too well. Additionally, there is a very high noise floor on the input on this, especially when you get up into the plus 12 dB range. It gets very noisy. So let's just hear some audio clips that I recorded using this, and then using just a standard entry-level interface, so you can hear kind of the drop-off in fidelity when you use something like this. Alright, so listening to those tracks, they're obviously reamped using some sort of amp simulation software, but you can hear just immediately, even between the DI'd, padded track and the different level matchings that I did with this versus the UA Volt, you can hear how much of a drop off there is in top end fidelity, and just how it lacks a little bit of warmth. And a lot of that is probably to do with the fact that this probably has pretty old or pretty terrible digital audio conversion stuff going on the motherboard, or whatever they have in here. Maybe I'll break it open and see what is inside. I don't know. One of the things I will say is this is advertised as having like a really high sample rate. This is advertised as being like 24-bit 96 kilohertz sample rate. Everything is supposed to be top tier. And even at 48 kilohertz, this thing just does not hold a candle to just a standard interface. Additionally, you might be going, well, this is meant for taking on the go. This is meant for, carrying around, First of all, this thing is plastic AF. This thing is not going to withstand a whole lot of attrition. It's not going to do well unless you have a decent, padded case for it. The mechanisms on this thing, they feel okay. I mean, they don't feel like they're gonna just like break all of a sudden. I don't think it's that bad. Additionally, this USB-C tie-in that they have here, this thing is short. You're gonna have to get an extension. even if you're using your phone. I was trying to do it with the phone, and I was realizing how awkward this kind of is to use with the phone. Additionally, the one app that actually this worked well in was GarageBand, and you're not using GarageBand for any kind of professional work or any kind of real, streaming work. You might use it to jot down ideas, and this being $50 or whatever, I think $60 normally on sale at Amazon right now. I think it's like $50. You might be saying, well, $50, you're not spending a whole lot of money, and you're probably getting what it's worth, right? No, I don't necessarily think that's particularly true, because to be honest, there are other products on the market that do what this does better. The other thing this does not have is it does not have a dedicated AISO driver. So if you're planning to record in any software where, latency and other things are important to you, you'll have to use like a Windows driver or some sort of native driver on Mac. I don't even know. I don't have a Mac, so I don't even know if this is even Mac compatible. It should be. No AISO support here, which is a pretty big oversight given that most products do have AISO drivers, for their hardware. So with that said, just to hammer home the point a little bit more about the lack of sound quality, let's listen to just the raw DIs that I recorded, just so you can get a sense of where that top end fidelity really drops off. So yeah, those raw DI tracks, there's like a very prominent drop off around like the 6K, and it just does not retain any of that top end information. It's very interesting. And so what should you be looking at instead? What would, in the long run, what's going to save you a lot of headaches and give you a bit more bang for your buck over something like this, which just doesn't really warrant your time? Well, I did a review on this Pod Express Black. There's obviously a lot of cheap options out there that kind of compete with this for like the guitar realm. But if you happen to have anything even remotely like this, it's going to also double as an interface. This has a way to run DI mode. It has dual outputs left and right for monitoring. It has its own headphone jack, and it has an AISO driver for doing any kind of recording work. And it's fairly compact, and you can basically do what you need to, for about $130. Not to mention it has a bunch of really great built-in, effects, and amps and cabs. So there's that. Additionally, Blackstar just released their Polar Go, which is a single input compact interface. I'll put it up right here, a picture of it. I'm going to be doing a review of this shortly. And based on what I know and what I've heard from other people, this thing is phenomenal for on-the-go recording. It does basically everything that this does. It also takes an XLR. It also has phantom power, and it has AISO support. It has everything, and it's built out of a metal chassis, and it's about $130, same as the Pod Go here. And to be honest, I think just saving your money and investing in something on that that level is just always going to be a much better outcome for people who are looking to do stuff on a more professional level. Okay, so just for fun, I went ahead and opened up the unit to see if we could get a sense of what was going on here. And if you zoom in on that little black spot there, that is the main processing unit, the DSP basically. And that chip there is made by a company called Hi-Core Tech. And I went on their website and I found information about this particular model, the HC6216. And what I found was that this DSP is a dual-core DSP, kind of old tech, and it's mainly meant for karaoke machines, or at least that's what it says on the website. It's mainly meant for processing audio data for things like speakers and karaoke machines. Not to mention, the the connection here with the USB-C, a little rough. One of the capacitors on the motherboard basically came off just by brushing against, the piece while I was taking the cover off. All in all, given, that the DSP chip in here is a karaoke chip, I'm not going to say that this is going to give you that high fidelity sound, and that's kind of, that kind of jives with what the audio quality on this was actually doing. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. I know I did, having this for a few weeks, playing with it, trying to get something out of it. Cautionary tale, you're going to see a lot of stuff that pops up, and people are going to try to give you, as good of a handle on what they think is good about the unit as possible. Take some of it with a grain of salt. Understand that people are genuinely looking for good things about products. And if you already have something like this or this particular unit, it's probably something that's been decent for capturing on-the-go stuff. I mean, why not? Otherwise, if you're looking for something more professional, definitely step it up, spend the extra money. So that's what I got.